So how do you interpret this moment? Is it something you see or what you're feeling or know? Something you have to look at, something you have to understand, something you have to identify with, something you have to have, something you have to get rid of, something you need to be, something you need to fear, something you need to love. What is your interpretation? Something you need to create, something you need to control, the controller, something you need to know, something you need to change, identify with, preoccupy yourself with, something you need to cling to, something you need to share. What is it? Something you need to watch, look at. It's all about the looking. Not about knowing, just looking. Not about deepness, just superficial looking. Appearance. Appearance only. Just appearance. Just appearing. Interpretation. Understanding or meaning is relative to who? Relative to what? From what level of consciousness? For what purpose? That's when thinking has anything to do with it. Thinking doesn't have to have anything to do with anything. Fact. But for many newcomers on the path, it has something to do about the meaning of it. The meaning of life. Not just the meaning of what you see. Who sees? Why does anyone see? What's there to see? Who is there to see? And what makes it important? More for some than others. The whole question about so-called planes of consciousness, which is a theory. It is also some people's experience. But it may also be a fact of human nature. And that's what your study is all about with your videos, studying human nature. Studying what you, the who, need to know more about, which it's like there's no end to what it is. So this is then a very strange voyage. It seems like there's not going to be enough time or materials for this voyage. You're going to run out of supplies. Because then the question arises, relative to appearances, how much is enough? What does time have to do with it? What does space have to do with the time that has to do with appearances? And if it's not just information and accumulation, which is a form of materialism, right, and distraction, just to have, to do, so on and so forth. What is it? Are you getting thrills from it? Is there a thrill to be acquired from it? Is there peace that comes from it? So what is the experience at the psychic level that anyone derives from their preoccupation with appearances? Which is not necessarily practice or deep practice. This is looking to look, seeing to see, materialism for materialism. That's all. Maybe fun, but maybe deeper. How would this be a deeper meaning for you?
Yeah. Well, hopefully all this is to get to the point where it all falls apart and makes sense. And
it's already falling apart.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always falling apart. But the self rebuilds it, the self resurrects it, see, and makes it the form for itself. See, form. See. Now, what can come through an appearance might be a different level of what it is. See, see, now you can be doing a certain kind of documentary on, let's say, a lion. Right, it's an ordinary old big cat. Right, just a delicious, scrumptious, big cat. Right, and so what? So what? Just another big cat, another person recording a big cat. With the exception, this one can talk. And that makes it special, not the big cat. But that it talks, at least to someone who understands it. So if you can derive from it some communication, say, apart from the appearance, and the appearance aspect of it is coincident with the event of communication. Its appearance can communicate the fact that it's a cat, a big cat, a dangerous cat, maybe even a hungry cat. But we're talking about communicating something from beyond the appearance, which is really what meaning is about. And the cat is not just a cat, see? Nor is a human just a human if it can communicate something of special value to the individual.
Does the self exist on any of the planes of consciousness that we talked about?
depending on what you're calling the self, it may not exist, but it may be on every plane. Depends. It seems that only the self is interested in the planes. And where it is and where it isn't, that's the self. It cares about itself. It's a wonderful question, right? About looking in the mirror and enjoying what you see. Right? Right. It's also narcissism to a certain degree. You have to watch out for that. Just being caught up in what you appear to be doing, what you appear as in terms of the self of appearance. Right? There is no such thing. Right? That's drama. That's theater before the event, see, of extinction, cessation. And who cares about where the self is, what it's done, what it will do, on what level it appears, because it's always just here. Right? It's all about the self. The self doesn't go anywhere until it's destroyed, toasted, kaput, knocked out, down for the count. The self doesn't exist. And what we're talking about is self-definition, self-identification, self-limitation. Right? These are programs. Materialism. Assessing materialism. Purified. There's no such thing. And there's no such thing at a serious level. Without self, there's no concern about that. Mm-hmm. You're just being what you're being, and you're letting the higher perceptics run the show. Then it's spirit. See? Spirit may finally have its way when you get out of the way. All your preoccupation with glamour and facial issues, right? Vanity, delusion. To a degree, certain degree, it's perversion. See? It's all about looks, not about beings, appearances. The curse of appearances. See a lot of that in Hollywood. Oh, I've lost my face. I'm only 60 years old, and my face is falling apart, and my surgeon can't keep up with my eyelids, and my lips, and my nose, and my ears. Right. Poor me, I'm old. Right. Appearance, sickness. Okay.
Does the self exist on some planes but not others?
If once again you're talking about self-limitation, it exists on most planes until it's gone. The better question is whether it exists in unconsciousness. When you go to sleep, where do you go? Where does anybody go when they're sleeping? Through superficial states, right? REM, right? And then going into the deeper, beyond REM, nothing. Gone, right? Nirvana, hello. Nirvanic bliss, nobody knows about. They tell it, but we know. Nothing is there, so nothing rules. The God has finally revealed its true face. Nothing. Nothing. And you come back to self, consciousness, and materialism, egotism, concern, confusion, self-doubt, self-building, self-division, self-conflict, ambition, self-consciousness, concern about image, how you look, how you don't look, how they look, how they don't look. See, self-other programming, right? And suffering, right? Just a lot of suffering. Going deeper, those things disappear. Right? We say deeper, we mean higher. Maybe not higher. Higher is not better than deeper. Right? It's not up, it's not really down, but deeper means somewhere else. Say, present, deeply present. silence, selflessness, sometimes the same thing. Heartfulness, silence, selflessness, sometimes the same thing. Gone. Gone. Gone.
Does self change or exist differently between levels?
Well, the density that constitutes the self as a program with emotional or psychic impact can begin, depending on the life karma and the blood karma, from a very heavy, dark place. Heaviness, darkness, see? And painful, see? Suffering, see? Crystallized, uptight, see? Self-conscious, very stiff, see? Very time stuck in time. Moments, see? Moments. Nanoseconds of self-consciousness. That's a horrible place to be living from. That's awful. It's like ducking bullets in a combat zone. Zing, 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 zing. Waiting for that one to hit you and knock you out. End it for you. Self-consciousness, paranoid. Yeah. Obsessed, paranoid. Fearful. Sick. The word is sick. And so as we experience, let's say, progression, then from that dense, heavy, dark pain, say, of self-identification with karma, inherited or conditioned or trained, so there can be a lightening up. Say. A little bit of happiness comes in there, but it's self-centered happiness. It's qualified as conditional self-consciousness, in the mode of assessing, perceiving, or acknowledging happiness. Right? A smile on that ugly face, otherwise ugly face. Right, fake faces. See? Soulless faces that have big teeth. Right? Nice, perfect teeth, but soulless. See? Empty inside. Right? No spirit, no soul in there to speak of. No radiance, just a heaviness. No radiance, no freedom. It's just, are they looking at me? Should I be looking at them? What do I look like today? Is my makeup right? Am I wearing the right clothes? Am I wearing the right colors? Is my hair done right? Madness. My legs too fat? Are they too skinny? Are my breasts right? Are my buttocks right? Are my shoes right? Sickness. See? Madness. See? Neuroses. Suffering. Anxieties. See? Vibrations lighten up. You move from the heaviness to some self-consciousness, some confidence, depending on what the circumstances are that can give you that sense, or relieve you of yourself for a few moments, right? And your self-torture for a few seconds. And you come up out of that and right, you might be able to smile from inside. Right, you might be okay with yourself. Handle some humor. Humor can bring it out in you. A little bit of juice comes out on you. In a comedic situation where somebody's sillier than you and makes you laugh, gets you out of your coffin of self-concern. Having good karma makes a person's self a little lighter. They feel they can do more. They feel they're important. They have more to work from. It's not spiritual, though. See, material success we don't equate with in the spiritual sense. A lot are born with money and power, not necessarily spiritual. Just as you have some very intensely spiritual people who have no money, no power. They have big hearts. have deep minds. So the spiritual means lightness and lack of materiality. See, spiritual is not material. Supposedly the opposite. Now, who can handle the real spiritual? Who can be spiritual and cling to an ego? Themselves. Who's analyzing themselves and needing to be analyzed by others to validate themselves. Now, who needs that? The sick do. Yeah. Those are still in blood caskets. Yeah. River of blood caskets. In the closet, so to speak. Timid, afraid. Imprisoned. Spiritual is liberational. Expansive, heart opening. Chakras just kind of like fall apart. They can't handle light. Like buttons snapping off. Pop, 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 pop. There you are, radiantly mad. Right. Liberated. Gone. See, to peace. 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 So along the path of suffering, self-created suffering, of course. What other kind of suffering is there? Even imposed suffering is self-created suffering. See? And that touches upon laws in the universe that are better left alone until you can handle them. See? Right. Because remember, as I've said in the past, you're in the past, you're in the present, you're also in your same future. Where and when are you going to show up to yourself in the future? Good question. But getting back to the point is unfoldment of consciousness from the darkness and uptightness to the expansion of the, let's say, the circuitry. The opening, the enlightenment, relatively speaking, of the faculties. Lower chakra, transcending sex as the energy moves up, regardless of what people like to hear about it, transcending it, transcending family, transcending relations, transcending self as expression, so transcending self as form and vision, and we may be moving higher. And you're in light, and you're in the light, you are the light, with no reference to self except theoretically, hypothetically, right? Because there's no self standing in the way except as a concept. Same with other concept. And then it's just light. What happens when you find yourself to be just light? Then you are on the way to the spiritual. Okay. The revelation of just light, that stage is the beginning of the spiritual. Everything else is just the unfolding and unraveling of the material. Falling apart as you move closer to the core, which is fire. Holding on to nothing. Vairagya, detachment. Nothing to hold on to. No one to hold on to it. Spiritual. Transcendence. Theory. Concept. But what's left when it's all gone? What is there in the deep unconscious? Superconsciousness?
So, is there a single point of consciousness on all these levels that is or is not separate
Well,
from the self?
the point of consciousness is totality. That's the point of consciousness. See? Is infiniteness. That's the point of consciousness. Is to work from the final point, finite point, right? The ego point, the self-conscious point. Work from there to the infinite. So they are basically the same. You have the finite point for infinite recognition. See? Recognition of infinity. See, that's the whole point. See? The point is to realize the infinite, right? Not just self-consciousness. See? You're talking about the point of self-consciousness is to be transcended. See? So the point and the infinite are, in a sense, equal. It's form is emptiness, emptiness is form. The point is the infinite, and the infinite is the point. That's the point. What's the point of all this anyway? Right, that's the point, the infinite, right? The divine is the point. Not its location. There's no location. See? There's no location. The light is the light. See? The heart is the heart. Where's the heart? Right. Right. In what atom is the heart more than anywhere else? Which atom is it? Please, specify. Right? Which note is more important than all the rest of them? Specify, please. Huh? Which thought is more important than all the rest of them? Where's the point? See? The all is the point. The all is the point. See? The heart is the point. The universe is the point. Realization is the point. Not self-gratification, right? Based upon some kind of scientific dogma. See? See? By those who don't know, they're not deep enough to know, to let go of what there is to know. Right? Transcendence. Mind into no mind. Beautiful idea. Right? No mind. Superconsciousness. See? Gone. Blown out. See? Genius. No mind. Just light, like the sun. Genius. Gone. Gone to peace. Genius. Poof. Zero. Heart space. Yeah, if anything is shared, it's for all beings. See? Even the animals, even the creatures at the cellular level. See? Yeah, microbes, see? And sub-microbes. See? They're all part of this. See? Yeah. Yeah. The force and power of the divine spirit is all pervasive. Has no location specific. See? If there was a location, the astrophysicists would have finished their work, finding out what the beginning was. They'd be done. Someone would have already achieved the Nobel Prize for that, or something like that. Yeah. It would have been done already. They'd be building statues of that person already. Yeah. Big ones. Stone ones, golden ones, right? The best ones. Say marble. Wow. Granite. Diamond. Whoa. But what they're finding is paradox. They're finding paradox. So beginners should go to the astrophysicists and the most advanced in quantum physics and ask them what it is. And they'll tell you they don't know. And they're looking really hard into nothing. What are you going to find in nothing? Except that you know nothing. There's nothing to know. But the natives have known that all the time. They say, oh, it's a spirit. They didn't have to use microscopes and Hubble. They didn't have to use that. I just knew. They understood. Why? Because they are what it is. They know they is what it is. They're part of the everywhere-ness of the heart itself. It's not a head thing. It's an earth thing. It's the mother's thing. Earth. Center. Ground. Heart ground. Not your mind, not the physical ground, but heart ground. Question. The heart ground question. Who is not heart ground? Who can sense it? Who cannot feel it? Who cannot know it, since it is what it is? And everyone lives and breathes from what it is, as it is. Awareness of itself. Just awareness of itself. Beyond awareness of itself. Awareness of itself transcendent of itself as form. Released to the infinite God. Where do you hear? Just from here? Or do you hear from here? Who are you anyway, if you're not everything? Right? If you're not dependent, codependent on everything, who are you? What are you? Self is conceptual. Self is conceptualization. It's a concept. It's a word. What is a word? Sound. What is a sound? That's self. What do people make of self? Standing in the mirror. Right. Yeah. Self-indulgent, say. Self-reflecting. Reflecting. Just self. Just body, emotions, experience. Oh my God, I'm so important. I'm not feeling good today. I have to feel better for my people, my boyfriend, my husband, my girlfriend, my wife, my mother, my daughter, blah, 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 blah. Somebody. I have to feel good. I have to look good to feel good. Obsession. See? Delusion. Neuroses. Self is neuroses. Self is anxiety. It's conflict. See? It's stress. Self. Self is also no stress. Self can be relaxed. See? And ready to recoil and react. Self is reaction. Not a pure one, but a mechanical reaction. A habit. A bad habit. Very bad. How bad? Real bad. Right. Self is what gets everyone into trouble. See? Self is what creates mistakes and mishaps. All manner. Self is what kills. Self is what could be killed. Self is an appearance, an emotion, a body, a world, a universe unto itself, and at the same time doesn't exist. Self is a paradox. Are you or are you not yourself? Are you the same self you were an hour ago or yesterday when you got clobbered? Is this the same self? Illusion. Self is self-created illusion. theatrics, what you act like, how you want others to think, what you want others to think, who you want others to think. You are. That's self acting. Fabricated behavior. Theatrical performing. Self. Then there's no self. Zero. And there's nothing that has to be acted out. There is silence in the presence of and in the absence of self. Where's the self? Who is the self? Beyond theatrics and neuroses, beyond concern and obsession, preoccupation with imagery. Where's the self? Is there a self? Mm-hmm. Everyone is suffering. Someone else is suffering. It's not your own. Sorry. You picked it up somewhere. Sorry. Where? What? Me? I didn't pick it up from anyone. Where could I pick it up from? Try breast milk. Your mother's. Or your father's, if your father had breast milk to share with you. Right, that's it. It's going down the line. So you didn't originate any of it. It's there. You were born into it, to be troubled by it, see, to be done in by it, to have a crisis by it, so you could wake up at some point along the way. And not by therapy. Therapy just massages it. Come on now. Medications just massage the stuff. We have to understand what they are as programs that you suffer so you can let go of them. Since you ultimately created them because they came through you, right? Passed on from your line, your ancestry. Your wonderful, fantastic relatives. See? Ancestors. We all have it. It's not new. We don't all sense it. We think we are the source of it. We are the primal, creators of it. No. There's a primordial aspect of it that's passed on through the continuum. You're so self-obsessed you can't know that. You can't see it, you can't feel it, so you can't let it go. All that arises to be released. That's good practice for creative artists. That's the way it is. How else can it be for a creative artist who dreads having to repeat itself, let alone repeat performances of music that are not their own anyway? It's like speeches, repeating Shakespeare. Same ways, same lines, over and over again. For what good, might I ask, except for more? They're going to pay you for it? Recite poetry and Shakespeare for the rest of your days, if it matters to you. If you don't have a particle of creativity in your own skull or heart, then you may as well recite Shakespeare. Until that creates movement in you that you can call own. Your own. Your very own. Creativeness. Your own creation. Which then would be unlike Shakespeare. And maybe a little bit more like you, whatever the you are, say. Assuming yourself to be. could be more like that. Or it could have its own, completely its own ownness. See, it has nothing to do with anybody. How about that? See? Having to do with nobody but itself. Nobody, no self, but itself. Its own being. Right? The ancients would call it pure being. See? Pure, selfless, original being. And not from the line exactly, but from beyond the line. Not carrying and conducting and perpetuating the neuroses of the line and the failings of human nature. Nah, not even that. No. Something that is purer than that. Spiritual nature. How about that? Is there such a thing? Could there be such a thing? Spiritual nature. What shows up from your spiritual nature? Religiosity? No. No. Thinking? No. Emotions? No. Zero. Spiritual? Zero. Non-material nature. Perfect. See? Light. Light. Can anyone tolerate light? Can anyone tolerate clear light? Just a concept. We are cultured in materialism, but not necessarily destined to be that. We are educated in materialism, materialistic values. And nothing wrong with that, as long as you don't allow that to be the full extent of what you can be, or who you can be. When what is called the soul is stirred, then the materialism starts to fall apart. Your ego starts to dissolve. When your ego starts to dissolve and your materialism falls apart, then there's spiritual awakening. There's something profound happening, actually. You go beyond doubt, you go beyond questions, you go beyond confusion, you go beyond self-conflict, you go beyond self-other dilemmas. You start to recognize your real function in life, your real function in the universe, which is not to talk and just theorize, say, and blah, 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 blah. No, not just that. It's to feel something from the urge beyond the body, see, that comes through the body. See, the urge to manifest presence. Sacred presence. See, something the natives knew a lot about. See, they have their own words for it. I'm talking about sacred presence. See, when it seems as if every atom in your body is illumined and you are in the body of light, which is what yoga teaches you, and tries to recover in its followers a sense of sacred presence. Doing the yoga, the hatha positions, all these things I loved doing when I was a pipsqueak. To loosen the body up, to decrystallize the body, to relax the mind and the emotions. You start to get some healing flow, healing energy going on because you're stretching and you're breathing and you're chanting and releasing all your toxins and so on and so forth. Good old-fashioned ancient yoga practice. Relaxing the body. Giving the body back to earth as a clear breathing vessel. Conducting light once the clear breathing is set into operation and functioning. Then there's clear light coming in. You feel it. Once you get out of the way. Once you get your big, fat, nasty, hideous, grotesque self out of the way, then you start to feel the peace and joy of the spiritual life. The conduction, of the higher vibrations of the heart and the mind. Wisdom vibrations. Love vibrations, compassion vibrations. America in general has not gotten to that place yet. It's too political, too factional. At this point. Too cultic. Cultism is widespread here. Too many chiefs that don't know anything. Headless chiefs. Hey, get a head first, then we talk. Heartless chiefs. Say, hey, you need a heart. Hey, give this guy a heart. He's got a hole in his chest. It's empty. Nothing. All right, so we need a radiant heart, radiant brain. The chakras need to be illuminated. Not according to anybody's system. It's not according to this. It's according to radiance, laws of radiance. Not knowledge, but laws of radiance. Laws of loving kindness, not laws of knowledge. Stuff, more stuff for your head. No food for the heart. Mm-hmm. Music is food for the heart, even though a lot of people think it's cerebral because it's avant-garde and so complex who can understand it. Well, there's a sacred intention behind that. The universe is not going to be understood either. Mm-hmm. We are at depths known to the mystics. We are very complex, universal beings. Once we get beyond personal, we can be universal beings. Once we get beyond the egoic, let's say, need for comfort, and just comfort for its own sake, we might have access to deeper states of consciousness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Question? Mm-hmm. So training is necessary for some, but not everyone. Mm-hmm. Not everyone needs the same school, because everyone in truth is their own school, but they don't cognize that properly. Everyone is their own religious circuit. But they don't cognize that. Not ready to be that yet. It's easier to be dependent upon other people in the beginning. That's the way it is. Birth, family, society. Maybe the universe after that, but not for most. Society is about the extent of it. Peeps. Peeps, more peeps, more peeps. That's the limit of it right there. What others are doing, that must be the key to the universe. What others are doing is what I need to do. Says who? If that's all you have, no comment. If you go deeper than your boyfriends and your girlfriends, you might find something in the vastness of the so-called kingdom within. Might find something. Maybe Jesus had something correct. Maybe. You only know if you try. Say, Yeah, the question is, can you know a teacher at its own level? How do you know the teacher at its own level? Yeah, you have to know them by their fruits, but can you perceive their fruits? What are their fruits? At what level are their fruits manifesting at? Well, you think it's just this? That's not going to be their fruits. You think it's what they're doing? If they go to a restaurant and they start eating a hamburger, well, then you can judge them. You know where they're coming from because you see them eating a burger or let's say an avocado salad. So, well, this teaches... how do you know? I mean, what level are the fruits coming from? See? Well, he's wearing this kind of clothing. And he's looking like this, so... Only a blind man is concerned with such things. Or a woman. Could the people in Jesus' time, to use an example in history, figure out where he was coming from by what he looked like and by his so-called community sermons? When in the same breath he was known to have said, according to the scripture, said, what I have to tell you, you're not ready to hear. I think that says it all. Who knows anything about Jesus if he could say that? And mean it. If it were true, he said, nobody could understand him. You can't hear it. Folks, humans, people of the country, this land, the Middle East, you can't hear what it is. See? But he wouldn't be the only teacher or master who had such a message, right? And so in the traditions you have, when it comes to some of the leaders, you have them breaking their teaching level down to very many levels. See? Because of the fact that beings, humans, are born into different levels. And sometimes having to occupy a certain level, no matter what you want to do against it, you have to stay there until the next level opens up. Sometimes you can snap your finger and you can go to the next level. It could be that easy for some. Or they go and meet someone else and they're already at the next level. Or hear a certain kind of music. They say, I don't understand that music. It sounds crazy, but it's the next level. That is the next level. Yeah, I can tell. I know. I don't understand that music. So it's got to be the next level so you can understand it. Because the more you hear it, the closer you might get to understanding it, because you become more familiar with it. And then whatever seems to be let's say, hearable, becomes hearable, because you are the source of that music. You're the source of it. See? You're the source of what you don't know. You're the source of all the levels, but you don't know that. See? You haven't realized that yet. So your comfort zone, ego zone is much less than the potential. That's the problem with the ego. It blocks potential. It can enhance some. It's possible. I have an ego that's saying, I see my potential and I need to do something about it. And then maybe the ego can step out of the way and allow some space for growth. So, I'm open to this now. The ego steps aside and says, I am open. I yield to this now so that I can see if there's more for me. It's selfish, but useful. That selfishness can be given up like that. I take it for myself. Oh, okay. Figure of speech. What's underneath that? Having more to offer other people. The more you have, the more will be taken from you, whether you like it or not.